Wait, you're putting that inside me? The black mail order bride first trembled, but the cowboy, the sun had barely risen over the dusty plains of Montana, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber. A soft wind carried the smell of wild grass and the distant scent of wood smoke from a nearby homestead. The vastness of the land made it feel empty, yet full of promise. A place where a person could begin anew, far from the chaos of the cities. Elena Harper sat stiffly in the back of a rattling stagecoach, gripping the worn leather strap of her small suitcase. She had crossed half the country by train and stagecoach, leaving behind the city that had offered her nothing but loneliness and uncertainty. Now at 22, she was traveling to meet a man she had only known through letters and photographs, a cowboy who had promised her a fresh start on his Montana ranch. Her heart thumped nervously, both from the thrill of adventure and the fear of the unknown. She had never been to a real ranch before, let alone planned to live with a stranger. The letters she had received from him were polite, sometimes playful, and always careful to reassure her of his respect. Still, nothing could fully prepare her for meeting him in person. The stagecoach jolted over a deep rut in the road, and Elena's gaze wandered to the horizon. Rolling hills stretched endlessly, dotted with pine trees and the occasional grazing cow. In the distance, a large wooden ranch house stood atop a small rise, its wide porch gleaming in the morning sun. Smoke curled lazily from the chimney, promising warmth and life inside. "Are we there yet?" she whispered to the driver, a gruff man with a sunburned face. He didn't answer, only tipped his hat briefly before turning back to the road. The coach continued its slow, bumpy journey. Elena clutched her suitcase tighter, feeling a mix of excitement and apprehension. She had imagined this moment countless times in the letters, him walking toward her, strong and kind, welcoming her into his home. But reality often held surprises, she reminded herself. Finally, the stagecoach stopped at the foot of the small rise. The driver jumped down and called out, "Here we are, miss. The Harper Ranch." Elena took a deep breath and stepped down onto the dusty ground. Her boots sank slightly into the soft earth, and she adjusted the wide brim of her hat against the bright sun. Her eyes scanned the yard and finally landed on a tall man standing near the porch steps. He was broad-shouldered, with hands that looked calloused from work. His dark hair fell slightly over his forehead, and his eyes, sharp and calm, studied her as carefully as she studied him. "You must be Elena," he said, his voice deep and steady. There was a hint of amusement in it, as if he could see the storm of nerves swirling inside her. "Yes," she replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. "I'm Elena Harper. You must be Mr. Jack Turner?" "Just Jack," he said with a warm smile. "Welcome to the ranch." He stepped forward and offered his hand. Elena hesitated for a moment before shaking it. His grip was firm, reassuring, and she felt a strange sense of calm wash over her. Jack led her toward the porch, talking in a casual, friendly tone. "You must be tired from your journey. We've got breakfast ready, and you'll have a chance to rest before we get started." Elena followed, glancing around. The yard was simple but well kept. Chickens clucked near a small coop, and a few horses grazed in the paddock. It was exactly the kind of life she had imagined when she agreed to become a mail-order bride. Not glamorous, not crowded, just open space, work to be done, and the promise of building something real. Inside, the house smelled of fresh bread and coffee. The kitchen was warm and welcoming, with sunlight streaming through lace curtains. Jack gestured for her to sit at the wooden table while he went to check on the food. Elena's fingers drummed nervously on the table. She had read stories about women coming west and regretting their decisions, but something about Jack, His calm presence, his gentle smile, made her hope she wouldn't be one of them. Jack returned with a plate of eggs, bacon, and biscuits, setting it before her. "Eat. You'll need your strength," he said. She smiled gratefully and began to eat, savoring the simplicity of the meal. "It smells wonderful," she said, her voice soft. Jack shrugged modestly. "It's not much, but it'll keep you going. You'll learn to cook like this too, eventually." Elena laughed lightly. "I suppose I will, though I'm not sure I can match your skill." "You'll do fine," Jack said. His eyes crinkled at the corners as he smiled again. There was a quiet confidence about him, a certainty that things would work out. And for the first time in a long while, Elena felt that maybe they would. After breakfast, Jack showed her to the small guest room upstairs. The room was modest but cozy, with a soft bed, a small dresser, and a window that looked out over the plains. Elena set down her suitcase and ran her fingers over the quilt, feeling the comfort of the place. "I'll give you some time to rest," Jack said, pausing at the door. "There's work to do, of course, but we'll start slow." Elena nodded, appreciating his thoughtfulness. "Thank you. I'm glad to be here." Jack tipped his hat. "Glad to have you. Now, get some rest. We've got a long day ahead." As Elena lay on the bed, looking out the window at the endless horizon, she thought about the life waiting for her. It was unfamiliar, perhaps even frightening, but also full of promise. She had left behind the city's noise, the lonely nights, and the uncertain future. Here, on this wide-open land, anything seemed possible. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher in the sky, and the gentle creak of the porch swing below was the only sound beside the distant lowing of cattle. Elena dressed in the simple clothes Jack had provided, a sturdy dress and boots, and stepped outside to explore the ranch. Jack was near the stables, tending to a young horse that had recently arrived. He looked up as she approached. "Oh." "Careful around him, he's skittish," he warned. Elena nodded, approaching slowly. The horse's dark eyes watched her warily, but she spoke softly, letting her voice calm it. To her surprise, it allowed her to stroke its mane. Jack watched, leaning against the stable post with his arms crossed, a small smile tugging at his lips. "You've got a way with animals," he said finally. "That's good. You'll need that." Elena laughed softly. "I guess I'll have to." "There's so much to learn." Jack nodded. "We'll take it one step at a time. That's how things work out here. Slow, steady, and with care." As the afternoon wore on, Elena explored the ranch further. She learned where the water came from, saw the barns and the pastures, and watched the sun dip low behind the distant hills. By the time evening arrived, she felt a strange sense of belonging, a sense that this vast, open land could be a place she might one day call home. Sitting on the porch as the sky turned deep purple and stars began to twinkle, Elena finally allowed herself a small sigh of relief. The journey had been long, the unknown intimidating, but somehow, standing there with the wind brushing against her face, she felt ready. Jack joined her, handing her a mug of steaming coffee. "It's a big change," he said quietly, "but you've got the spirit for it." Elena smiled, warming her hands around the mug. "I hope so. I really do." Jack looked at her for a long moment, his eyes softening. "We'll figure it out together," he said simply. And for the first time since leaving home, Elena believed it. A night settled over the ranch, calm and full of quiet promise. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called, and the gentle rustle of the prairie grass whispered of new beginnings. For Elena Harper, the journey had only just begun, but already it felt like she had found a place she could grow. learn, and maybe even call home. The morning sun rose over the Harper Ranch, casting long shadows across the rolling plains. Elena woke to the soft crowing of a rooster and the smell of fresh coffee drifting from the kitchen. Her body ached slightly from the unfamiliar motions of riding and walking across uneven ground the day before, but a sense of excitement kept her moving. This was a new life, a fresh start, and she was determined to make it work. After washing quickly, she joined Jack in the kitchen. He was already up, stirring a pot over the stove. The ranch house was quiet, the only sounds the gentle clatter of utensils and the low hum of the morning wind outside. "Good morning," Elena said, trying to sound more awake than she felt. Jack looked up, smiling. "Morning? Sleep well?" "Yes, though my muscles are sore. I didn't realize ranch life would be such a workout." She laughed softly. Jack chuckled. "You'll get used to it. By the end of the week, these aches will be nothing. Ranch work is honest work, but it keeps you moving." Elena nodded, appreciating his encouragement. They ate breakfast quietly, enjoying the peace of the morning. Jack told her about the tasks ahead, feeding the animals, checking the fences, and helping with repairs. It sounded like a lot, but she felt ready. After breakfast, Jack handed her a sturdy pair of gloves. "First, let's get the barn cleaned. The horses need fresh bedding, and you'll learn their routines." Elena followed him to the barn, where the smell of hay and horses greeted her. A chestnut mare raised her head, nostrils flaring as she sniffed the newcomers. Elena held out a hand, letting her fingers brush the mare's soft nose. The horse snorted but allowed her to stroke its mane. Jack watched silently, arms crossed. "You've got away with them," he said finally. "That's good. They can sense fear, so staying calm is important." Elena smiled, feeling a small sense of pride. "I think I can manage that." As the morning passed, Elena swept the barn, replaced bedding, and fed the horses. Jack showed her how to tie knots for the animals and how to move carefully to avoid startling them. It was hard work, but she enjoyed the rhythm of it, the feeling of accomplishing something with her own hands. Around midday, Jack called her to help with the fence repairs. Some sections had weakened over the winter, and the ranch needed sturdy boundaries to keep the cattle safe. Elena held the hammer carefully, trying to remember the lessons Jack had shown her. She struck each nail with as much precision as she could muster. "You're a quick learner," Jack said, watching her. "Most people don't pick it up this fast." Elena blushed slightly. "I'm determined not to fail." Jack grinned. "Good. That's the kind of attitude that gets things done around here." By late afternoon, Elena's arms ached and dirt smudges covered her dress. She looked over the repaired fence, feeling a rush of satisfaction. She had contributed to the ranch already, and it felt real. She wasn't just a visitor or a stranger anymore. She was part of the work, part of this land. Jack leaned against the fence post, studying her with quiet approval. "You're stronger than you look," he said. Elena laughed softly, wiping her forehead. "I suppose that's one thing I didn't expect about ranch life. I thought it would be peaceful, but it's hard work." "It is," Jack admitted. "But there's a reward in it. You see the results of your effort, and it feels good at the end of the day." As the sun began to sink behind the hills, Jack suggested they check the cattle before supper. They rode together on horseback, Elena slowly gaining confidence as she guided her mount across the uneven terrain. At first the horse had been skittish, but with Jack's calm guidance, she learned to keep control without frightening it. The cattle grazed quietly in the pasture, their low moos blending with the sounds of the wind. Jack showed her how to count them, making sure none had wandered too far. Elena marveled at the vastness of the land, the beauty of the plain stretching endlessly around them. "You'll get used to the quiet," Jack said. noticing her gaze. It's different from the city, but there's peace here too. I like it, Elena said, her voice soft. It feels real. Jack smiled, though there was a thoughtful look in his eyes. Good. You'll need to remember that. Life here can be simple, but it's also full of challenges. And sometimes it can surprise you. Elena nodded, feeling a mix of curiosity and unease. She didn't know what he meant, but she trusted him. That evening, after a hearty meal of stew and fresh bread, Elena and Jack sat on the porch, watching the stars emerge in the clear sky. The quiet was almost magical, the kind that made one feel small and infinite at the same time. I didn't expect this, Elena admitted. I thought coming here would be lonely, but it feels different. Somehow, I feel like I belong. Jack looked at her, his expression soft. You do belong. It's just a matter of finding your place, and I think you're doing that faster than you realize. Elena smiled, feeling warmth in her chest. She had expected fear and uncertainty, but instead she felt hope. This land, this life, and perhaps even this man. They offered something she had never experienced before. Suddenly, a loud rustling came from the edge of the pasture. Both turned toward the sound, alert. A small calf had wandered too close to the fence and gotten its leg caught. It struggled, frightened, and Elena's heart leapt. "Help me free it," Jack said, moving quickly. "Careful, it's scared." Elena approached slowly, speaking softly to the animal. Jack worked on loosening the fence while Elena soothed the calf. With a few careful movements, they freed it, and the young animal bolted toward its mother, safe again. "Good work," Jack said, clapping her shoulder gently. "You stayed calm, that's important." Elena exhaled, feeling both relief and exhilaration. I didn't panic," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I think I can do this." "You can," Jack said firmly. "And you will. Each day will be a little easier, and each day you'll feel more at home here." As the night deepened, Elena felt a mixture of exhaustion and fulfillment. She had faced her first real challenge on the ranch and had succeeded. It wasn't just hard work. It was proof that she could adapt, survive, and even thrive in this new life. Jack lingered a moment longer on the porch, watching the stars. "Tomorrow," he said quietly, "we'll start teaching you more about the land, how to read it, how to care for it, and how to handle whatever surprises it throws your way." Elena nodded, feeling a thrill of anticipation. Life on the Harper Ranch wasn't easy, but it was full of promise, and she was ready to face it head on. She knew challenges would come, and sometimes fear would creep in, but she also knew she wasn't alone. Jack would be there, guiding her, and together they would navigate this new world. As she climbed the stairs to her room, she paused for a moment at the top, looking out the window. The moonlight bathed the plains in silver, and the quiet was profound. Somewhere out there in the vast, dark night, life was moving on, and she was part of it now. Elena lay down, muscles aching but heart full. The first days had been a test, and she had passed. The ranch was not just land, it was a promise, a future she could shape with her own hands. And for the first time she truly believed that she could make it. One day at a time, one challenge at a time. Outside, the wind whispered through the grass, carrying with it the scent of freedom, of possibility, and of beginnings yet to come. The days passed quickly on the Harper Ranch. Elena had grown used to waking with the sun, feeding the animals, and learning the rhythms of ranch life. Every day brought a new task: mending fences, guiding horses, helping in the garden, and with each task, Elena felt herself becoming stronger, more confident. The work was hard, but there was satisfaction in seeing results. Jack had been patient, guiding her carefully, letting her learn at her own pace. Their conversations had become more relaxed, sometimes playful, and Elena found herself smiling more easily in his presence. Still, she could feel the unspoken understanding between them, a respect, a growing trust that made her heart race in ways she didn't yet understand. One late afternoon, dark clouds began to gather over the distant hills. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of rain and earth. Jack noticed the change immediately. "A storm's coming," he said, frowning slightly. "We should finish what we can and bring the animals in before it hits." Elena nodded, eager to help. She had learned a lot in the past few days, but she still felt nervous when things became unpredictable. Jack handed her a rope and gestured toward the horses in the pasture. "Help me guide them into the corral," he instructed. "We need to be quick." Elena approached the horses cautiously. The storm was closer now, and the sky darkened ominously. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and a flash of lightning lit the plains. The horses grew restless, their ears flicking nervously. Elena's heart pounded, but she remembered Jack's lessons: calm, steady movements, soft words, and confidence. She stepped closer to the nearest horse, murmuring soothingly. Slowly, the chestnut mare allowed her to loop the rope over its neck. Jack was nearby, guiding the others. Together, they led the horses toward the corral, moving quickly but carefully. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning struck near the far pasture, and one of the horses panicked, breaking free of the rope. Elena froze for a moment, fear gripping her chest. The horse ran toward the fence, its hooves pounding the ground. "Stay calm," Jack called. "You can do this." Elena took a deep breath, remembering his advice. She moved toward the horse, her voice soft but firm. "It's okay, easy now." The horse slowed slightly, then veered away from the fence, allowing her to get close enough to grab the rope again. Her hands shook, but she held on tight, guiding the animal back to the corral. Jack approached, his eyes filled with pride. "You handled that well," he said. "Most people would panic." Elena exhaled, relief washing over her. I didn't know if I could do it," she admitted, her voice trembling slightly. "You did," Jack said simply, "and that's what matters." The storm hit in full force shortly after. Rain poured down in heavy sheets and wind whipped through the trees. Elena and Jack worked together, securing gates, covering feed, and making sure the animals were safe. By the time the storm subsided, the ranch was soaked but intact. They returned to the house, drenched and muddy, and Jack helped her out of her wet clothes. The fire in the hearth crackled warmly, and the smell of dry wood filled the room. Elena wrapped herself in a thick blanket, shivering slightly but feeling a sense of accomplishment. "You were amazing out there," Jack said, handing her a cup of hot cocoa. Not everyone could stay calm like that. Elena sipped the drink, warmth spreading through her chest. "I didn't want to fail, not on the first big challenge." "You didn't," Jack said, his voice soft. "You proved you belong here. More than that, you proved you're strong." Elena smiled, a mix of pride and relief washing over her. The storm had been frightening, but it had shown her something important. She could handle the unexpected. And she realized, perhaps for the first time, that she trusted Jack completely, not just to guide her, but to support her. The following morning, the sky was clear, and the air smelled fresh after the storm. The ranch was alive with activity. Birds chirping, animals grazing, and the grass sparkling with raindrops. Elena felt a renewed sense of purpose as she moved about, checking on the animals and helping with chores. Jack approached, a thoughtful look in his eyes. "Elena, I have a task for you today," he said. "It's a bit different. I want you to check the far pasture and see how the fencing held up after the storm. You'll be on your own for a while, but I'll be nearby." Elena felt a thrill of nervous excitement. Being trusted to handle a task alone was both intimidating and empowering. I can do that," she said. Jack nodded. "I know you can. Just remember what you learned yesterday. Stay calm, think ahead, and be careful." Elena set out toward the far pasture, carrying a hammer, nails, and a small toolkit. The ground was muddy from the rain, but she moved carefully, watching for slippery spots. The distant hills were bathed in sunlight, and the sky was a brilliant blue, a sharp contrast to the storm the night before. As she approached the fencing, Elena noticed a section that had partially collapsed during the storm. The wood was splintered, and the wire fencing hung loose. She knelt down, examining it carefully. She could fix it, she thought, just as Jack had taught her. Hours passed as she worked, hammering nails, tightening wires, and replacing broken boards. It was hard, physical work, but Elena felt a sense of pride with each repair. She could see the results of her effort: the fence straight and strong, the pasture secure. Suddenly, a noise caught her attention. A low growl, followed by rustling in the bushes. Elena froze, her heart pounding. She scanned the area and saw a small pack of coyotes emerging from the underbrush, eyes glinting. They were hungry, curious, and clearly interested in the livestock. Elena's first instinct was fear, but she remembered Jack's advice: stay calm, make yourself appear confident, and protect the animals. She picked up a stick, waving it slowly to assert herself. The coyotes hesitated, then backed away slightly. "Elena!" Jack's voice rang out from the nearby ridge. He had seen the danger and was riding toward her on horseback.
"Keep calm, I'm coming."
Elena held her ground, her heart racing. The coyotes circled, testing her resolve, but she stayed steady. Jack arrived just in time, positioning his horse between her and the animals. With a few loud commands and firm gestures, he drove the coyotes back into the brush. Elena exhaled, her hands trembling as she dropped the stick. Jack dismounted, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You did well," he said. "You stayed calm and didn't panic. That's what matters." I was scared," Elena admitted, "but I remembered what you taught me." Jack smiled, his eyes warm. "That's all anyone can ask for. Today you proved you're capable of more than you thought." The sun began to dip behind the hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Elena and Jack walked back to the ranch together, the day's events leaving them both quiet, thoughtful, and connected in a way that words couldn't fully describe. That evening, after a simple dinner, they sat on the porch, watching the last light fade from the sky. The events of the day, the storm, the work, the coyotes, had left Elena exhausted but exhilarated. "You're growing stronger every day," Jack said softly. "Not just in work, but in spirit. You faced challenges and didn't give up." Elena felt warmth in her chest, a mix of pride and something deeper: trust, admiration, and a budding affection she hadn't expected so soon. "I couldn't have done it without your guidance," she admitted. Jack shook his head. "You did it on your own. I just pointed the way. The strength was always inside you." Elena smiled, looking out over the plains. The ranch was more than a home. It was a place that demanded courage, patience, and heart, and she realized, with a quiet certainty, that she was ready to meet those demands. As night settled over the Harper Ranch, Elena felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. She had faced storms, both literal and metaphorical, and had emerged stronger. She had learned to trust herself, and in doing so, had grown closer to Jack. Tomorrow, she knew, would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new moments that would test her resolve. But for now, she was content. The ranch, the land, the life, it was hers to embrace. And she would face it all, one day at a time, with courage, determination, and an open heart. The morning after the storm, the Harper Ranch was alive with movement. The animals had settled. The sun glinted off wet grass, and the air smelled fresh and clean. Elena moved about the yard with renewed confidence, checking water troughs and helping Jack feed the horses. She had learned to anticipate the needs of the ranch and felt a quiet satisfaction in contributing. Jack appeared at the barn doorway, carrying a small bundle of tools. "Morning, Elena," he called. "I've got a job for you today, if you're ready." Elena wiped her hands on her apron. "I'm ready." "What is it?" Jack's expression turned serious. "Ja, we have a young calf that wandered off last night during the storm. I want you to help me track it down. It's likely somewhere near the western pasture, but we need to be careful." Elena's stomach tightened. She had faced storms and coyotes, but the thought of searching alone for a lost animal felt daunting. Yet, she nodded, determined. "I can do it," she said firmly. Jack smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I'll be right there with you. We'll find it together." They mounted their horses and rode toward the western pasture. The grass was tall and damp with morning dew glistening in the early sunlight. Birds chirped nervously as they approached, sensing the unusual activity. The wind whispered through the trees, and Elena's nerves tingled with anticipation. "Keep your eyes open for tracks," Jack instructed. "The calf is small, but it'll leave signs if we watch closely." Elena squinted at the ground, spotting small hoof prints in the muddy earth. "There!" she exclaimed, pointing. Jack nodded. "Good eye. Let's follow them carefully. The calf may be scared, so move slowly and speak softly." They rode cautiously, following the trail through tall grass and patches of wild flowers. The tracks led them to a small grove of trees where the calf had sought shelter. Elena dismounted, feeling the familiar thrill of responsibility. "There it is," she whispered, spotting the young animal huddled beneath a tree, eyes wide with fear. The calf saw them and bolted, running deeper into the grove. Elena's heart raced, but she remembered what Jack had taught her: patience, calmness, and steady movements. She approached slowly, murmuring gentle words. Jack stayed back, giving her space, ready to assist if needed. Elena extended her hands, stepping lightly over roots and rocks. The calf hesitated, then slowed, its breathing heavy but steady. With a careful step, she managed to loop a rope around its neck. "Good job," Jack said softly from behind, his voice steady. "Now let's guide it back without spooking it." Elena led the calf carefully, her voice calm and soothing. Jack walked beside her, guiding her movements when necessary. They moved as a team, communicating with simple gestures and quiet words. Suddenly, the calf darted toward a small creek, slipping on the wet rocks. Elena's heart jumped, and she reached out instinctively, catching the rope just in time. "Easy, easy," she murmured, steadying the animal. Jack was right beside her, holding the rope firmly. Together, they led the calf back toward the pasture. The animal was still nervous, but no longer panicked. Elena felt a surge of pride. She had faced fear and uncertainty and had succeeded. When the calf was safely reunited with its mother, Jack clapped her shoulder. "You did well, Elena. That wasn't easy, but you handled it perfectly." Elena smiled, relief and pride mingling in her chest. "I couldn't have done it without you guiding me," she admitted. Jack shook his head. "No, you did it yourself. I just helped you see what was possible. You're stronger than you know." They rode back to the ranch in companionable silence, the sun climbing higher and warming the earth. Elena's muscles ached slightly, but the sense of accomplishment outweighed the fatigue. She was beginning to feel at home on the ranch, not just as a visitor, but as part of the life there. Later that afternoon, Jack called her to help mend a section of the barn roof that had been damaged in the storm. Elena climbed carefully, gripping the wooden beams, her mind focused on the task. She worked efficiently, passing tools to Jack and nailing boards into place. The teamwork was smooth, almost effortless. They spoke in simple words, moving in sync, each understanding the other without needing long explanations. By the time they finished, the sun was low in the sky, casting long shadows across the ranch. Elena wiped sweat from her brow and stepped down, feeling a deep satisfaction in their shared accomplishment. "You're improving every day," Jack said, his eyes following her movements. "I think you're ready for more responsibility soon." Elena felt a thrill of pride. "I hope so. I want to learn everything I can." Jack smiled, his gaze softening. "You'll get there, one step at a time." That evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Elena felt a sense of peace she had never known before. The ranch, the work, and the life she was building here felt real, tangible, and full of promise. She looked at Jack, noticing the quiet strength in his eyes, the steady calm that had guided her through storms and challenges. "I never imagined I'd be able to handle all this," she admitted softly. Jack reached out, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You can. You've got the heart for it. And you've got me here, too. We're a team." Elena felt warmth spread through her chest. She realized how much she trusted him, how much she relied on his guidance, and how much she admired his patience and strength. As the night deepened, the wind carrying the soft rustle of prairie grass, Elena felt a quiet confidence. She had faced storms, fear, and challenges, and she had not only survived, but grown stronger. And she knew that with Jack by her side, she could face whatever came next. The Harper Ranch was more than a home. It was a place of growth, courage, and trust. Elena had found her place, and the life she had dreamed of was beginning to take shape. Together, she and Jack would navigate the challenges ahead, learning from each day and growing closer with each shared triumph. Tomorrow, she thought, would bring new challenges, new tasks, and new lessons. But she was ready. She had found strength she didn't know she had, courage she hadn't realized was inside her, and a partner she could trust completely. The Harper Ranch was not just land, it was a new beginning, and Elena Harper was ready to embrace it.